Joining me right now is criminal defense attorney down in Florida, Anthony Rickman. Anthony, so good to see you. Do you have us?
Hi, Andrew. Thank you for having me. I have you.
You know, you've been covering and following this just as much as we have. What was your reaction to the news today, and in particular, what they issued the arrest warrant on, the indictment about using a possible other debit card for other transactions? What did you make of that?
Well, the fact that they've issued an arrest warrant and they've gone as far as they have gone didn't surprise me. I know initially there was a question of why he was just a person of interest, why he wasn't a suspect. Well, especially in the federal system, a lot of times people are charged, we saw today, indicted without the public being notified of anything. While we look at the facts of this case, what we see is law enforcement indicting him, or federal government indicting him for what they feel they can prove at this time. And through this indictment, we learned that he used a credit card belonging to Gabby Petito on August 30th. And we see him using that card. And now we're going to be able to see this federal indictment being used as essentially a springboard to now arrest Brian Laundrie once they find him, bring him into custody, and because he's federally indicted now with an active arrest warrant.
You know, and Anthony, I just want to point out, because like you were mentioning, this is in no way related to the ongoing homicide investigation into Gabby Petito's death. But let's talk about, you know, what would the criminal penalty be? I mean, for using someone else's debit card. It seems minor, but is that the linchpin to possibly eventually get Brian Laundrie on other charges in the future?
Yeah, right now it's credit card fraud. It's fraudulent use of someone's personal identification, the access point being the credit card. While it's not the highest offense that you can possibly convict somebody on, it is a federal offense. And what will happen now, because he's federally indicted, let's say he's picked up, he's found and preserved where law enforcement is engaging in this massive man fund. If they find him, he'll be taken into custody, most likely brought into federal court here in Tampa, where he'll see a judge. At that point in time, the judge will most likely not allow him to bond out, and then he'll be transferred to Wyoming. Ultimately, while this is going on, they're still conducting a death investigation. They're conducting the autopsy of Gabby's body. They're looking for evidence that will directly link Brian to her death. Without something being able to be pinned upon him to stick, to allow the government to hold him in custody, essentially he can walk away. Now with a federal indictment, we know if they find him, he can't go anywhere. And law enforcement can conduct their investigation into her death simultaneous to its prosecution for using her card. And this card, although it's this use of the card, although it's an independent criminal offense, his use of that card can be linked and used against him in a prosecution for a homicide. It directly puts him in contact with Gabby's body after her death. If he's using this card, we know he had access to her prior to her death. This card, his use of this card, is going to be very important in a subsequent investigation to determine where he was at certain times, his location, and to show that he used this card without her consent after she was deceased. It's going to be evidence in a homicide investigation as well as a federal charge itself.
Anthony, I want to move over the discussion to Brian Laundrie's parents. Apparently, reporters saw them today. We saw them today leaving their home there in Northport, and we saw that silver Ford Mustang as well. You know, they are, freely moving about Florida, about parts of Florida. Do you think the police will have cause to question them yet again, to go back to their home, to seize or search anything in there? What is the parents' role right now?
Well, right now we know the parents did initially tell law enforcement they were going to talk to him. Their son invoked the right to remain silent. And then miraculously, 4 days after they allegedly believe he went missing, they report him missing himself. They report him missing, and now they want to cooperate. We know they spent hours with law enforcement in conducting interviews, and we know that search warrants were executed at their home on that Mustang that we saw brought back today, on the van that was found. And if law enforcement believes additional evidence could be found in that home, they will use the fullest extent of the law to execute additional search warrants. But they've already gone in that house. We saw detectives, we saw FBI agents removing items, duffel bags, coming out with things from that home. Most likely they've completed their searches of the home. And this family now, meeting with their lawyer, is most likely talking about their rights and their obligations, and if possible, if they are potential suspects or face criminal liability for anything they may have done.
And Anthony, I just want to update our viewers because there have been some more developments in addition to the arrest warrant. The city of Moab, Utah, telling Fox News today it's launching an investigation into how police handled an August incident between Gabby and Brian. And then that's that body camera footage most of us have already seen over and over and over again about their first kind of documented altercation. And as well, a Northport law firm in Florida says it's offering their own reward for information on the whereabouts of Brian Laundrie. That's the Buhoff law firm offering a $20,000 reward for the first person to supply information. You know, we've been talking so much that this is really a cross-country investigation because that they embarked on this road trip. Does that present more kind of messy details and work for investigators since it is such a broad scene?
Without a doubt, because one of the things they have to prove, if we ultimately believe law enforcement or the government is going to try and prove that Brian committed a homicide, committed a murder, well, the first thing they have to prove is where it occurred. Did it occur in Utah? Did it occur in Wyoming? Did he move her body? They're going to have to establish evidence that a murder occurred and where it occurred. And the fact now that essentially we have three major crime scenes. We have what happened in Utah, we have what happened in Wyoming where her body was found, and we have this massive search here in Florida. But what we see is a coordination of all different law enforcement agencies. We see the FBI working hand in hand with local law enforcement here in Florida, as well as working with law enforcement in Utah and Wyoming. And we see now the chilling effect that this case has had with the changes to the policy in Moab, where they talk about if, a lot of states, if someone reports domestic violence, usually somebody goes to jail. Somebody is separated, they're taken away, and something happens to make sure that a homicide doesn't happen in the future. As a former prosecutor, one of my fears is prosecuting cases where if you let somebody go essentially and then they go and do something. So we see Moab now changing their policies or looking at their policies to make sure that something like this may not happen again. And we see the effect this case is happening throughout the country, and it's gripped our nation.
And Anthony, I just want to reiterate the fact, let's go back to the indictment, the news of the day. Apparently the indictment does not say whose cards Laundrie allegedly used. Has that been updated? Do we know if they are Gabby Petito's credit cards?
Really, the indictment itself, and when a grand jury comes in, they come in secret. So this is all fluid. I would believe that it's Gabby's credit card. Okay. Because when you look at what this is all related to, although they haven't come out and said it, when you look at the charge, it's directly related to where he was on the 30th. And understand, as we all know, when you use a credit card, there's a little camera there. So most likely, if he's using that credit card at an ATM machine, we're going to be able to see if it was him who used it. One can most likely assume, put two and two together, that it was her card he used without permission. And then you also got to look at the cell phone. We know if they know that her death occurred before the 27th, and the family's receiving these cell phone messages, these text messages, that in conjunction with his use of that credit card can all be used as evidence against him.
All right, Anthony Rickman, just offering some great expert analysis as we go into the sixth day tomorrow of the search for Brian Laundrie. It's been so long and there's been so little information provided. What are your kind of premonitions about this, just having been around the block a few times and covered cases like this? What does your gut tell you at this point?
Look, from all along, I've been looking at this case, and like we talked about, why is he a person of interest? He is the only suspect. He's the only person of interest. He was the person who went to Wyoming with Gabby. He comes home without her. We have a nationwide search where people have submitted videos, a video of a van in a very close proximity to where they find Gabby's body. We have the cell phone communications to his family, to Gabby's family. We have the van that returns, and one of the things we don't know is what evidence was actually pulled out of that van. And now, unfortunately, we have the discovery of Gabby's body. It's going to be interesting to see what exactly comes out of that autopsy, because the first thing we're going to be looking for is what her actual cause of death was. Now, what's important to note is the FBI was quick to say that the manner of death was a homicide. They didn't say it was an accident. They didn't say it was a suicide. They said it was a homicide, meaning the death was an unnatural death caused by somebody else. And now we know that that's somebody else. The suspect of that somebody else is Brian Laundrie. And law enforcement is conducting this search, this nationwide search for him, as well as the collection of evidence, circumstantially putting together this case. They're going to be looking for every clue or detail to link him to a crime if they find and believe a crime has occurred. And that can include any evidence around where her body was found, shoe prints, DNA samples, anything linking him to the body, his moving of the body, if that's what's alleged, any weapons that may be there. This is going to be a very interesting case and one that we're going to see play out, hopefully, when he's captured.
All right, Anthony Rickman, attorney there down in Florida and Tampa, we thank you so much for your time. We'll be definitely speaking with you again.
Great. Thank you for having me.
All right, we do